everybody. Welcome to another DG and Z show. It's just the two of us today. I'll make sure I'm still recording. You know, Zoom changes things all the time, and I'm so blind. Okay.
Yeah, I think you are. Looks like you
are. Yeah. But anyways, we're going to talk about a book that we read, but I just was talking to Zachary about his trip and his moose encounters. And because, you know, so many of us have been trained that moose are very dangerous, but he didn't find that out at all, did you?
That's right. You know, I first really had a close encounter with the moose up by Granby 2 years ago now. I think it would have been So something like that anyway. Got real close. I mean, I was probably 20 feet from these moose. I think they were young males. And they just kind of popped out. They were by this lake I was hiking around, and they kind of popped out, and he saw me, I saw it. And, you know, the initial reaction that time was, you know, oh gosh, you know, a little startled, and his hair on the back, right at their shoulders, went up, and then kind of on the rump, just like a dog does when they get, you know, startled or whatever, excited. And we were kind of checking each other out, and I was thinking, you know, where's a tree? I can get a tree between me or something if I need to. But then it just kind of switched to like, you are freaking amazing, you know, and I'm so honored to be in your presence. And that hair on his back just went down and went right back to eating. And so I've seen him a couple more times now, but yesterday we were pretty close to a couple. One had a real big white rack, and they get close enough, their coats are really amazing. You know, it's that thick, kind of like a elk, but they're like kind of whitish on top, and then they got dark, deep bluish, purple, black, and then they got like some white legs. And you know, they're big, their heads.
Yeah.
So big. I mean, way bigger than a horse's. They're similar to a horse. Their legs kind of look like horses and stuff, but their head is just massive. And so now that this is third or fourth time I've been close to them, I would go out on a limb and say they definitely have telepathic abilities.
Well, they have to.
Yeah, probably all animals, right?
Yeah, all animals. You know, they're empathic. That's like my horse Sierra. I call her, she's empathic dyslexic, because she sees multidimensionally, and she feels everything. She always knows how I feel before I even know how I feel. But yeah, you know, it's just like the Sasquatch people. You know, if you're going to go out there with guns ablazing and you're going to shoot them, you're not going to see them.
Right.
You know, so you out there with your gentle energy,
yeah.
He was just like, oh, hey, or they were, you know.
And the last one was a whole family. Right. We were on, it was called Boreas Pass. It goes between Breckenridge to Como. Hey, Frodo. And it comes out, so we're right on the peak of that pass. It's a dirt road. It's really a fun one. If you ever get a chance to do it, lots of aspen trees and really pretty neat. So right at the top, and I'm kind of like, I'm just a passenger, so I'm kind of like getting sleepy as after a hike. And all of a sudden it's like, wham, there they are, Dad, Mom, and calf. And, you know, at first it's like, where's the camera? And I think they sensed that. It's like, we want to capture you.
Mm-hmm.
No, I really think that they can pick up on that. And plus, they might want to get out of the road because we're in a car and stuff. But so they go off to the side up in the trees, just barely in the trees, and they're looking back at us. And that young one, and we saw some right as we parked too. I mean, real close, a mom and a calf. And that calf is just checking us out. Yeah. It's like they're being taught fear too. They're learning fear too here. You know, so in some ways they're being manipulated as well, you know, from their true essence, probably.
Right.
But just that head, it's just so hard to describe without seeing it in person. It's just massive. It's like seeing a buffalo.
Yeah.
You've ever been right up close to a buffalo? That head is a planet. You know, that thing is just amazing. And but you send out the hue to them, or send out just, you know, we're on the same page. We're not a threat, and it's just, you're amazing, and I'm grateful to be here with you. Love to be friends with you. And you can just feel it. They just totally relax and go about their business. And said the young ones are checking us out, but mom's like, yeah, it's no big deal. You know, it's all, you know, these guys are cool.
Well, there's something to be said about up close and personal, because, you know, we always talk about that energy exchange. There really is no space between us. There is space if you're watching them on movies or something. You know, it's kind of like, you know, when we watch videos of the elk bugling, it's so much different than it is up close and personal. I mean, when we went up top and we'd come into a herd of, there must have been 35 cows, and then all the bulls were behind them because it was, you know, it was mating season. And them bulls, they were just screaming. And they saw us, they knew we were there. And it was so cool, and it moved me so much. I mean, I started bawling. You know, and John looks, he looks behind and he goes, "What, you're bawling?" It's like, oh, it's so beautiful. Oh, you know, so
be witness to that. That is, you know, that is this life essence in motion, you know.
It's connection. It's such a connection, and so many people miss out when, you know. And then it's like going into the sweat lodge, which we talked about before. It's, you know, when you go into nature, it says, what are you bringing with you? What kind of mentality are you bringing with you?
Right. If you got your iPhone in one hand, you might as well just leave. I mean, it's still a benefit to be there, but I mean, if you really want to connect, you got to leave that behind. You can't be, you know, you got to be here. You can't be here. You know, you can't be here. To really have an intimate experience anyway, you know. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but if you really want to connect.
You're missing the whole purpose.
Yeah.
You know, you're missing the whole purpose, you know. It's like I had an encounter with a bobcat when we were in Cotopaxi. We just love to watch the bobcats, and, you know, they'd be out in the yard hunting all the bulls and everything. And one day I was washing the horse water tank out, and felt like I was being watched. So I look over to the barn stall door, and I was probably 10 feet, 15 feet from the barn. And there's a big bobcat just sitting there watching me.
Nice.
You know, most people would freak out, you know, because a bobcat can bring down a deer. You know, they're very vicious. And I just said, "Oh, hi, how are you today?" And he just kind of went, "What are you doing?" You know. And he just watched me for a few minutes while I scrubbed away. And then when he had enough, he just walked it back around the other side of the barn. So.
Sovereign. Totally sovereign.
Yeah. So anyways.
Back to those moose real quick. It's just, they have such a benevolence. It's different than an elk. I've been real close to huge, large elk before too. And elk are a little more, I don't have quite as much time for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're a little more, you know, I'm doing my thing and I'll let you know, you know, if I want to chat. But moose are just like this radiating, friendly benevolence. They have this benevolence to them. And I was close enough to them in Granby once where I actually saw their eye. I mean, I looked right in the eye to this one, and it's just off the charts, wondrous, friendly vibe coming out of them. It's really, really cool. But then again, you know, you got to say, just don't go up there and run up to them, right? I mean, that's how, if people are getting injured and stuff, you know, they're approaching it that way. But it's just like going into somebody's house and you know,
Yeah.
so it's,
Yeah.
who are you, right? You're going to start using their barbecue in the backyard. So what are you
Yeah.
doing? You know,
Right.
you gotta have some
Right.
respect and stuff. But really cool,
Yeah.
man. Moose are so cool, and they're
Well,
really taking off too. They're prolificating rapidly.
yeah, they are.
in Colorado.
They're even making it here in Salida. We've seen them on the river, and people are seeing them more and more. So, you know, it's funny when I was born and raised in Wisconsin, and I never saw a moose. I see bear, I mean, all the time. As a matter of fact, I was driving home from work one day, and there was a big bear on the side of the road, and it was about as big as my little Mustang was, and I stopped on the road, and I was like, you have the right of way, because I know you could take out my car. So, and he just ambled across the road. But, you know, as soon as we moved to Colorado, then they started seeing the moose.
Yeah.
So, oh well, we'll see them.
Do you think moose, right? They've been kind of reintroduced, I think, is the story I've gotten a few years ago, and they've really done well. It's probably like, what is there to mess with a moose?
Yeah.
I mean, they're so big and powerful and just magnificent.
Yeah.
They really have no predator. You know, maybe calves are sick or elderly or something, right? But,
right.
Would you think moose compete with elk, or do they compete with bears? You know, or do they get along, you think?
Well, you know, we know that the bears compete with the elk cows for the calves in the spring. You know, the bear been eating more of the calves, so the elk herd is having a little bit of an issue with that. I think the moose, though, they're so big, and they have that aura about them. You know, it's kind of like the lead horse in a herd of horses. Mm-hmm. They don't really have to fight. They don't have to prove it. It's just in their energy that, hey, you know, so it could be with the moose. You know, they're so big and so strong. Yeah. You know,
what planet did the moose come from?
Oh, hell if I know.
Moose Turia.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
In the Andromeda sector.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's, I don't know. You know, that's interesting, but there's so many planets that we don't even know about. So, and then we have to think of the energy in the moose suit. Is that energetic being just coming here and saying, I'm going to come in a moose suit? You know, just like the horse, you know, that being is like, I'm going to go down in a horse suit, you know, I mean, so I don't know. But anyways, you want to get on our topic of book discussion?
Yeah. Hang on. I got to go run and get my book. So start it off.
Okay. Well, anyways, we stumbled across Scott Lemriels, who wrote the Say Raise Agenda. And we both decided that we were going to start reading more of these books and letting you guys know about what we think about these books. And this was really an interesting story because, you know, I write in fiction, even though what I write about is a lot of what I experience. And this is what Scott Lemriels did, was he decided to take his experience and to save the names, to protect the innocents, he changed all the names and the locations. So this is actually supposed to be factual, but set in a fictional storyline just to protect everybody. And I read this, I think it was maybe a month ago I finished reading it. And I have a lot of questions for Scott.
Yeah. You gotta hook up with him. I've got that written down to reach out to him and say, hey, would you come talk to us about it? Because
he might. Now, because I write fiction and I'm a very, very descriptive writer. When you read this book, I don't know how to say it. I think it's the information that keeps you turning the pages. It's not really how the story is written. So if you're looking for a story that's beautifully written, this is not the book. It's the information that's in the book that keeps. I mean, there's some areas where I just have to laugh because it gets a little cheesy at times. But so when you read it, don't stop reading it because of the way he wrote it. You really need to finish. You really need to read to the end of this book.
Mm-hmm.
That's my only grief.
Yeah, he goes to length describing how things look on the ships, what they're wearing, you know, what the individuals look like, and even the house of Janice's dad, Ted,
yeah,
Ted Carter.
Her Earth dad.
Her Earth dad, yeah. So I guess we won't give away too much because there's some few surprises in there, and you know, it's a fun story that way and stuff. But yeah, great detail about how the foyer looked and the fireplace and the floor, and then same with the ships and the landing bays and all these things, you know. So a lot of the book is him describing what those things feel like.
Well, and it kind of fills in a lot of our blanks when we think about this kind of stuff. And, you know, we know that everything we see in the movies, you know, the Star Wars movies and anything that has to do with space, if it's in the movies, it's pretty much real. I mean, that technology that, you know, from, you know, what they tell us, all that is already real. But I like that. I mean, his concept is really different because here we have to use our discernment. His concept about the ray, this pyramid, this golden pyramid that starts to come in, that was sent by the original, I guess, the original human race that left this planet eons ago. And they have evolved, they've spiritually evolved way above anybody that's here or been here or coming here. And, you know, they don't like what's going on with this planet.
Well, doesn't he say that the ray and the pyramid, that technology is coming from Prime Creator?
Yes.
It's even beyond the Say Ray.
Right. They're the ones that are bringing it, but they got it straight from Prime Creator himself.
Right. It's not something they developed. It's something you give to them as they're passing along. Right.
Herself. But yeah, you know, so that was, you know, the concept about even the reptilians, even those that are here, the dark side, the reptilians, the cabal, whatever you want to call them, you know, are infiltrated, and even they are being oracally implanted, and they are pawns in this game. You know, it started with the reptilian ancestors, you know, the higher reptilians that decided, you know, oh, we can go to Earth. These people are pretty gullible. We're spiritually evolved enough. We can see through what's going on there, and we're going to take advantage of this, and we're going to use it, and we're going to control these people. You know, and so they control their own race.
Yeah.
They send here
white-winged.
Yes.
White-winged.
The white.
Was it? Of 9. I don't know. You know, that's magenta pixie, doesn't she say that?
No, it's the white-winged draconians.
Okay, yeah. And I know the white wing thing.
Yeah.
And apparently there was a war, and they got their marching papers, right? But they still had that implant, that influence over the lower reptilian races, and so they continued on with those characteristics, those behaviors, malevolent behaviors.
Yeah. Well, you know, in the book, I mean, you learn that, of course, like we know that how they infiltrated the government and what the president part the president plays in this, and how everybody's been blackmailed. Everybody's been blackmailed. At first, you know, they thought that they were going to have a treaty with the this totalitarian race.
Right.
And it was, they thought they were going to get something good out of it, but no, that's not what their agenda was, So yeah, it was the Seres, which were that ancient Earth civilization that left the planet and decided to come back. Their agenda was to turn all of this around, to pretty much shut this down, and bringing in that pyramid with the ray that just kind of, woke everybody up. They started at the top, and then they worked their way down the levels.
And that's another question of mine. We get into that, start just dissecting this, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. But right, start at the top. Well, why should the ones that have caused so much immeasurable pain and suffering be granted this? I guess they need to be stopped first, perhaps. I could see that, but what about me? Am I just chopped liver, as they say?
Yeah.
There is a hierarchical order, so it's okay. Good for the goose, not good for the gander. What's going on? You know?
Well, yeah, and that was one of my questions when I got done reading the book, because it was pretty much what I got from it was, and I could be wrong now, and I'm sure Scott could, rectify this, but what I got was, it's not all about you working your way to ascension and earning your way to knowledge and all that stuff. It's just the ray comes in and it wakes everybody up. No matter how good or bad they are, it just wakes everybody up, and and so, if that's the case, if that's all it is needed, is for them to come and shine this ray, bring these pyramids all over and just throughout civilization, turn this ray on. If that's all we need, and we don't have to earn this right, then why isn't it happening?
Yeah, what
are they waiting for?
Right.
He wrote this book back in 2013.
Yeah,
so that's
even before it. Some of it's kind of hints that he started.
Well, yeah, because he's done 4 different editions. So
yeah, I think 2011 even or something.
Yeah, because the 4th edition was 2015. So and I know
that reminds me. What you just said, though. I thought I'd jump in. I've seen a couple of his interviews, and he used the word rehabilitation as replacement to ascension. So this ray rehabilitates our natural abilities. We once again have full use of our brain. The dual helix DNA becomes the 4 or the 12 strands of the dual reactivate. We're rehabilitated, and so we regain abilities that have been purposely denied us. I guess is a way to explain that, maybe.
Yeah. Well, and I think he even talks about the replicators in this book. And so I hope that's true, because, so many people, when you talk to them about these changes and what it would be like in a higher dimension, they're still thinking with the 3D mind. It's like, well, who's going to make all the stuff?
Yeah,
if we don't have to work, who's going to make all the stuff for me?
Right, it's a totally different thing, totally different encounter.
Yeah.
Than what we're doing now, right?
Yeah. So, and it's funny because there's this new TV show called The Orville, and it's with, what is that guy's name? Seth?
Oh, yeah, MacFarlane?
Yes.
I think his name is. Yeah, I'm not that familiar with him, but I did see that commercial the other day.
Yeah. You have to watch it. I mean, there's some funny parts. But this last episode was about a certain race, and they kind of look like a reptilian, or maybe from Roddenberry's Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
The Wrath of Khan. What were they? the bad ones. What the heck were they?
Like Spock, the Vulcan?
Not Spock, the other ones that they always were having altercations with.
Cryons or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, well, anyways, but they're really good. They're very sweet. They're great, big, huge guys, and they're all male. And this couple, they're both male, they have a baby. And this baby is female. Only every 75 years is a female ever born. And what do they do? They send it and have it genetically modified to be male again. And so, you know, everybody's on the ship is like, you can't do this. This is a female. You can't change it. Oh, yes, we can. She would live a horrible life. What kind of life would she live if she was raised female? Oh, she would be ostracized. So they show him the episode of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, how Rudolph was different with his red nose, and he got to save Christmas. Well, the one reptilian-looking guy was like, oh, that could be our daughter. She could save the universe. And so he doesn't, but in the end they lose and she gets modified into a male. But
that's really great storyline. Yeah, that's
it is. I mean, you see a lot of what's really going on in today's world in this.
Patriarchal domination and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but they had a replicator. It was cool because people would come and they'd stand in front of the replicator and you could see them think for a minute. Oh, I need a lamp. Boop, there's a lamp. They smile and they take their lamp and they go, you know.
Well, if you approach it from the thing where all is energy, if that is in fact what it is, and I think that there's a lot of evidence out there and the possibility is quite plausible that is the situation, then
well, and
that's not that far-fetched.
Well, and that's the thing. The further up the dimensions or the densities we go, the faster we can manifest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now, depending on what level you're at, you know, we can manifest, but it takes us a lot longer and it takes more, it's more involved.
It takes physical action.
Yeah. Instead of just this, you know, we still haven't gotten there. And I think, you know, what is it? Susan Lee, who talks to the Arcturians say that we are already a fifth dimensional being. We came down here, we descended into the lower dimensions to help Gaia. And when we descended, we lost that instantaneous manifestation that we have up in the higher densities. So, you know, there's so much truth to what we read about or what we see on the TV as being already there. It's already out there. None of it is new, you know. So I just thought it was kind of cool when he talked about the replicator and then how he, you know, he still stayed with the families, like even the other, like the Pleiadians. He goes into the Pleiadians. I think there were some Pleiadians that. Janice, she was an otherworldly being, but what was she? He didn't.
Mark and Janice were both from the same planet.
Yeah, because he was like an ambassador or something, but he never, I don't know if he said exactly what race they were. I don't know. I think he might have changed.
He mentions their
because
planet.
Yeah, he could have made up names.
That's
because
true.
he didn't really, you know, well, he made up different races because he didn't really want, you know, anybody really pinpointed in the story, you know, but, you know, so he did a lot of these otherworldly beings that opted to come back here. It was interesting because, of course, the reptilians intervened, you know, they knew they were coming. And they intervened and they captured them and they forced them out of their bodies. So they lost their bodies and they had to get another body. They lost their original body from their original home planet and they had to take an Earth body. And and then they lost their memory, and and then how the reptilians implant you with that auric fear, that horrific fear, to keep you from stepping outside of the box. I'm gonna rip off your head and shit down your throat, kind of thing.
Yeah. And you're going to remember this, and then next time,
eyeballs out.
right, the next time you want to be in your power, you're going to remember this is what happens when you do that. And so control. You think in a nutshell that when he's describing how Moon Tehran and Sean Rahl, or Mark and Janice, when they originally came from the home planet, were intercepted, and then, as you described, taken from their body and forced to walk into a human body and stuff. Do you think he's just kind of talking about how the Archon network works, how that is for all of us? That's what happened to all of us? Or do you think that's just a specific, he was this ambassador guy, and she was this ambassador scientist, so that was just happening to them?
I don't know. That's a darn good question for Scott, because we talk so much about the Anunnaki. When you die, you go through the Anunnaki recycling machine and you come right back, and how that they set up the white light, and when you cross over, you're attracted to the white light because that's what we've been programmed to do. Right. And, but I think maybe for these, when they say anytime a baby is born, they already know who it is. They already know where it came from, what planet it came from, and what kind of a soul that is. Mm-hmm. So I think, that might be different because Janice and Mark were like, Mark started as no, they came in as themselves and were intercepted, and then they were forced to take a child's body. Right,
at like age 5 or something.
Yeah.
They jumped and they walked in, and the soul that was in that body was sent to a different plane or something.
Yeah. Well, I think it just goes to show you that when the people volunteered to come here to help, we didn't realize how bad it really was. Mm-hmm. So I guess you have to read this book with a real open mind, and it's good to discern and, whatever resonates with you, hey, cool. And if it doesn't,
right,
get rid of it. And maybe you'll come back to it and one day it will resonate with you. But, this, it just totally goes against the grain of what everybody else is saying. Everybody else is saying that we have to work our way back up to the higher dimension. And that is how we ascend, and that's how we gain knowledge, and that's how we gain wisdom. And not everybody is going to do this because everybody has a choice. And that's another thing that Scott talks about in this book, is that there is no free will in this book. Nobody has free will anymore. And that's why they decided to come and intervene, because free will was taken away.
Great. Yeah, you nailed it. What a segue. So I marked a few pages for questions. And that was one of my questions, page 76. It says, for reasons you will become aware of soon, the destruction of your world would not just cause the loss of all life, blah, 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 go on down. So therefore, although we're normally reluctant to intervene in other worlds or their choices, in this case, it's well justified because Earth leaders and the general populace no longer have the free will they think they have. And man, that really jumped off the page at me, is that's right. You go outside, people are asleep. We have been tampered with. And I can sit here and see as a distinct possibility, humanity will never wake up.
Yeah.
Be, ruined, if you want to look at it that way, or altered to the point of no return. And then I get people, we don't have free will. We aren't aware of what is really taking place behind the scenes, as you were just describing, just to come to this planet, just to be born. So that to me was a great point. So yeah, back to like saying, well, what's the holdup then? What's the holdup? We can't really choose for ourselves as the masses, as the whole. Maybe there's individuals that are catching on, but as a whole, I don't think we're going to catch up. I don't think it's going to, I don't think it's going to happen because we're not aware there's a problem.
Yeah.
And so what is the holdup then,
Yeah. Yeah. When you listen to everybody else, like Dolores Cannon, when she talks about, her 3 waves of volunteers that come and how they come in and they don't have karma, because these volunteers that are coming in are straight from source. They haven't had other lifetimes. They're pure souls, and I like to believe that I'm one of them. I don't know, but they came here, same thing. They came here to help from source, but they just had no clue how hard it was going to be. They had no clue what they were walking into. And so, we ask, you and I ask this all the time. Why do some of us wake up and some of us don't? And, I think for like me, because I was doing a lot of automatic writing this morning and, a lot of Gaia stuff, because I really think we keep talking about this. That is where it's at. Gaia is where it's at. So we need to really connect with her, because she's the one that is ascending. We have the choice to ascend with or without her. And so I was doing some automatic writing, and it's like, okay, why did I wake up? Why did I know? Why did I have an inclination as a very small young child that I came here to do something, but I didn't know what it was? And I think it coincides with what Dolores Cannon was saying, that, a lot of us come here, we don't have karma. So if we get stuck in that recycle machine and then we get our memories taken away, it's like we can take the dimension out of the soul, but no, we can take the higher dimension out of the soul, but we can't take the soul out of the higher dimension. So even though we're here in the lower dimension and they've taken our memories away, it's still there. It's still there. So we do find a way to waken up while we're here.
Right.
And, the Earth humans, so many say there's only 25% of the population is original Earth humans anyways. And if, do they have to stay with Gaia on the 3rd dimension and finish out another lifetime? It's like they still have schooling to do, Who are the ones that are not waking up? That's my question.
Lots of them. Yeah, who are they though? I see what you mean. Yeah, right. I don't know. But, so also you said something interesting, comparing just being exposed to this ray, and then that energy transforms and transcends and returns the human vessel, and the soul and DNA and all that stuff rehabilitates, as we mentioned before, as opposed to having to do all this, with the ascension process. You got to clear this, you got to clear that, you need to raise this, you got to, but by having to do those things like that, isn't that still control? Isn't that just another control system? Oh, you haven't raised your vibration enough. You don't get the carrot. you don't get the apple. What's the difference? It's the same exact thing, isn't it? I've
You
had
just,
I've had those thoughts for a while. I was like, well, that's bullshit, man. That's
yeah,
bullshit. If
you
I can
just
be
said,
aware of it, then bring it on. I don't have to jump through your hoop.
yeah. Well, that's funny because I was reading Susan Lee, who talks to the Arcturians. She had a blog, and I was reading. It just got sent to me, and she was talking to the Arcturians, and the Arcturians are saying the exact same thing. No, 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 you haven't done the work yet. You're not ready. You have to go back. Do not collect your $250 or $200 for passing and going, you know? And it's so really, what is it? I
So that
mean,
doesn't add up to me.
yeah, I don't know.
That's a paradox. That's a contradiction. That's a hypocrisy to me.
Yeah. But on the other hand, if Scott is right in what he's saying, what are we waiting for?
Exactly right.
What are we waiting for? Everything, no matter what it is, it's waiting, 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 you know? But it was kind of interesting what he talks about in the book about once this ray hits everybody on this planet, the population of the planet will go down to 500 million because all these people, when they wake up, hey, I'm going to go back to my original planet, or, oh, I'm going to go and do this now, or I'm going to go and do that. So, you know, it kind of addresses that Agenda 21 thing that the dark side wants to bring our population down to 500 million.
Right. So is that a red flag about this information in this book? Because, right, that's the Georgia Guidestones, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't that right? And so are these people really just traveling off world, or have they been captured,
Eaten.
imprisoned, right? Eaten? Are they a food supply? Are they slaves now?
Right.
You really know, because that jumped out at me too. That 500 million thing. Well, isn't that what the Illuminati keeps saying anyway?
Yeah.
You know, that, like, get some clarification on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of questions, you know, and he talks about, and it's really funny because when he talks about how our homes will be, you know, they sound very spaceshipy type, not like what I would think, because, you know, when I write about Lemuria and Agartha in my Samaya book, I envisioned it things that blend in with the earth, you know, blending in with kind of like how a fae would live or a hobbit would live, you know, and everybody's got to have their pool. Everybody has to have a pool in their house, you know, and it's, I was just like, really? We got to go there again? Gotta have a pool, eh? I made it until I had a pool in my backyard. I don't know.
Yeah, that was interesting when talking about how everybody's house was, and everybody had 20 acres. That's kind of what you were going through there, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At the New Earth, or at the other world where Moon Turan and Shan Ra came from.
Well, and I just found it very interesting because everybody else who talks about ascension or evolving or whatever, it always includes Gaia. It always includes our connection to her, you know, and I don't know it. Maybe I've forgotten, but I didn't really see much. I didn't read much in this story about having anything to do with Gaia at all, other than the population going down to 500 million.
Right, and at the end he was talking about how all the cities will be transformed. Those energies will be turned back to a pristine earth, forests and waters and lakes and stuff like that, meadows or whatever. So it mentioned it there.
Yeah, just that physical thing, none of the spiritual stuff, you know, I don't know. But that could be a good thing too, because, you know, we tend to want to make everything a religion. You know, everything has to be a religion. No, if you believe in Gaia or not, you know, it has to be a religion. So maybe he was just trying to stay away from that religious controlling stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I could see where that maybe wasn't really necessary in this story to bring in the spiritual side of Earth into it. Although I can feel and I can agree with you that Earth is the modality, that's the right word, for human ascension. And somehow something about human is the venue or modality to assist Earth's ascension. We're like working cyclically, we're joined together in this process. We help the Earth is helping us and stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. I just found it interesting when the baddest of the bad military reptilian, the general, after he gets done killing his first officer for really no reason at all,
right?
And then he gets hit with that ray, and it just crumbles him to his knees, and he's like, I can't, all these horrible things that I did. I just killed my first officer, and you still want to save me?
Right,
yeah.
It's all humble and stuff, right?
And then he goes to say that they were all, the reptilians were originally vegetarians, and how, when the ray hits them, even their body changes. They stop being that big, nasty, mean, scary looking reptilian down to like a slee sack.
Right. Their scales change, they're soft in the color and stuff. Yeah. That was interesting.
Or as a slee stack, from Land of the Lost. Remember the slee stack from Land of the Lost?
No, I don't.
You didn't watch that when you were a kid?
I didn't.
Yeah, he was just a nice little, I don't know. Apparently what the reptilians used to look like, I don't know. But I mean, if they were originally like that, why were the white winged ones that were the ancestors, why were they so bad?
Yeah, right. What's their 0 point creation of that behavior, right? Who implemented that, right? I guess it keeps tracing back, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Somehow that happened, somebody did that to them, or where's that coming from?
Yeah. And I think it, when they talk about how when Source exploded, decided I need to know more, and Source exploded and sent all those little souls out and said, go forth and conquer or whatever. He had to send like a balance. Okay, here's some light and here's some dark. What is it? How do we want to proceed here? Do we proceed in the darkness or do we proceed in the light? Let's find out.
There's all one source of creation. Well, then certainly malevolence, or the dark side, whatever you want to call it, goes back to that too, right? So that comes from Source as well, right?
Yeah.
So Source has a dark side. Source has a shadow. He needs shadow work. Source. I got some exercises for you,
Yeah. Well, and I think, Source has to work through it. Yeah.
Give me a call sometime. We'll work this out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Who made Source?
Well, that's it too. Yeah. Where does it stop, or doesn't stop? Are we thinking of it within like 3D construct there?
Yeah.
Is it like there is no beginning or end? Just envelop yourself in that concept, and that's like everything gets out there instantly.
Yeah.
Wow.
That brain freeze.
Right. And that's kind of hard to conjure. It's hard to comprehend and accept. There was no beginning.
Yeah.
There is an end. I mean, if you really sit and think about that, that's pretty far out for where we are right here.
Yeah.
It's different from what we're taught here for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. But, and then, he expands on the hue, the primordial sound of creation, I guess, the hue, and he talks about how by using the hue is actually your way of breaking free from all this auric implant stuff, and how to keep yourself protected, and how to connect with your off-world home and family,
Great. Hey, we're almost at an hour already, man. Did that fly by?
yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
do you want to do a part 2? I think we can do probably several
Sure.
videos talking about this. And we
Yeah.
can pick up right there on that implant stuff. I think that's a cool place to maybe pick up on a part 2.
Yeah, let's do that. All right, you guys. Well, get the Say Raise agenda, read it, and find out for yourselves, and then look forward to the part 2 of this discussion. And maybe you'll have some answers, or maybe you'll see something in it that we haven't seen. So we'll be talking to you soon.